Today we have with us one of the most prolific writers of the Indian mythology, Anand Neelankantan. Well, what sets Neelakantan apart from other writers on Indian mythology is that he rebelled his way through the popular beliefs and ideas and chose to keep forth the stories of the other side. From Ravan to Duryodhan, Ramayana to Mahabharat, he has got it all covered. Well, that's not it. Anand Neelakantan has also written a book on the rise of Sivagami, a prequel to Bahubali series. We would like to start with you elaborating on the recent project of the book Vanar that you have taken up.
Anara is something which I wrote last year, which was released last year. That is the legend of Bali, Sugriva, and Tara. It talks about there is one slice of Ramayana where nobody has elaborated much. That is the love story between the triangle love story between Bali, Sugriva, and Tara. Here I am taking the Vanara as Vanamara. That is the people of the forest.
Okay.
So it is a very humane take where it is the people of tribals living in the forest.
We often hear the phrase Hinduism is not a religion, it is a way of life. But there is a shift in the narrative of Hinduism as India sees a surge in what you say pro-Hindutva elements. How will it affect the whole idea of the culture coming?
These are two different ideas, I think. Hinduism is age-old. Hindutva is a very recent phenomenon. Hindutva, as we call, is a religion. It's highly vitriolic. It is a religion of the New Age. It is a mutant of Hinduism. Hinduism is something which is age-old, which is a cluster of, it's a superset of so many varied and diversified and very tolerant beliefs.
Take on Hinduism versus Hindutva debate.
Hindutva is just a pale imitation of other Semitic religion, which has all the vices of all the Semitic religions with none of its virtues. So what it has done is, like any religion, Hinduism has its flaws. Hinduism is very broad in its expanse and worldview, and it is very deep and tolerant. But its negative aspect is about the casteism and other things. So that is like any religion will have positive and negative. So Hinduism is positive in a lot of things, and its main problem is the casteism.
Right.
Now, Hindutva, what it has done, whereas the Semitic religions like Islam or Christianity, in its core is a bit intolerant. They say only one God, one way. It's intolerant, one book. It's a very intolerant religion, but their positive aspect is the brotherhood of the followers. Theoretically, practically they might be discriminating, but theoretically all the believers who believe in those religions are equal. Now, Hindutva, what it has done essentially is it has neither lost the casteism, but it has assumed the intolerant, the negative aspects of the Semitic religion. So it is I feel it has got nothing much to do with Hinduism or India. It is a very recent religion. It is not Indian at all in its worldview and other things.
Right.
This is not the Hinduism which we have grown up with. This is not the Hinduism of so many saints and sages who have kept on reforming this religion as per the need and time.
And sir, do you think our society's social understanding in terms of politics that go around caste and religion, as you've talked about it, right, is inspired by the demonic depiction of the lower rung of society in mythology? So can you shed some light on the same by taking instances of the characters from your books?
Mainly my characters are timeless. So all these people they give a subaltern view how the epic will look like if you see it from a person who lives at the bottom rungs of the society. Actually, whether it is Ayodhya or Lanka of Asura or Hastinapura of Ajaya or even Maheshwari of the Bahubali or Kishkinda of Vanara, the places which I wrote, they all, in my mind, they represent the modern day India. So the problems faced by them are the problems faced by the common man now. So I am trying to project that. So essentially, this is the truth. Whether whoever rules, whichever political party rules or whichever ruler rules, the life of Bhadra or Jara remains the same.
Right.
Only everyone gives lip service. Only these people suffer. they suffer the most. But whether they are blind devotee or whether they are cynical, their life remains miserable.
True.
They are the people who are betrayed by the rulers or the gods or whoever, what you call. And this you can look around and see so many Badras and Jaras. Vanara, one of the often quoted lines which a lot of critics have quoted is, men strive to be God when they can't even reach the level of animals.
Do you really think a Hindu mythology did justice to the marginalized section as you have talked in your book?
No religious book has ever given justice to the marginalized. It is nothing specific about Hindu books. No religious books. Religion is always of the elite. Even history is of the elite. We talk about this king did that, this king did this. We hardly know anything about how the common man lived. We can only guess.
Right, exactly. Right.
So it is not only about Hindu Puranas. It has been always the worldview that it is only the elite and whose life we read about Mughal Empire. We know about the love affair of Shah Jahan and Mumtaz. We don't know what happened. How an ordinary person in Delhi or Agra was living in the slums of Delhi or Agra. So the same problem, same thing is there with Puranas. It is same with any religious book. None of them, rarely they talk. There will be token characters always often to reiterate that why one should love God or respect God, like Kujela and other things. But it is very rare that how an ordinary man would have lived the life that is depicted in any of the book. And what was their worldview? It is always a top-down view. Even if some ordinary people are depicted, it is always from top to bottom. It's rarely from bottom to the top. Whereas in folk tales, you can find a lot. In folk tales, which are quasi-religious in nature, you can find this a lot. Like Kannappa and many of the Bhakti folk tales, they have a common man in them. So Jara is modeled on that. But again, you will rarely find the differing view. That is, a character like Bhadra is difficult to find. Jara kind of character you find, as I said, whether you take Surdas, whether you take Chokkamela, whether you take Kannappa, you can find the character. But a rebellious, a cynical character who are more, if you look around, that you rarely find in any of the religions.
Right. So, sir, being a writer who has chosen to narrate the story of the vanquished, as you say, with books written with, thorough research, because I have read your prologue and epilogue, and you have mentioned how you ventured into a village where there was a Duryodhan temple and people used to pray in that temple. So how difficult it is for you to explore the concepts that go against the, popular narrative?
Actually, what is popular narrative is the biggest question. Why? Because the kind of narrative which is loud need not be the popular narrative. I will explain this. Loud narrative is the typical Brahminical top-down approach. This is what we are used to. This is what most of the books are, because once upon a time only Brahmins were literate, or majority of the people who were literate were Brahmins. A few other communities were also literate, but in the scriptures it was all Brahmins who were literate.
Right.
So naturally the worldview represented will be the people who write about that. These are the written versions. But written versions doesn't even form 10% of the total stories perhaps. It's a rough ballpark figure I'm telling. Doesn't form the this thing of the total stories available. The popular versions, what you find are the folk versions. These folk versions are often subaltern, often challenging, often making fun, and often going against the usual narrative. These are not in written formats. So when I do research, I come across this kind of irreverent kind of literature, which is often given in the folk tradition. So my research included those, and because of that, it was easier to accept it. Once we know that India is all about oral tradition, And Indian religion is basically folkish in nature, and whatever the scriptures which are often told as the hallmark of Hinduism doesn't affect the life, has never affected the life of 98% of the people. Because how many people do yoga, how many people do the Vedic rituals, even traditionally? It is done by a small group of people who learned about the philosophical, good, bad, everything in that belongs to us. It has a sweeping worldview, great worldview, deep philosophical thought, very bigoted thoughts also. All these belongs to a group of people. Whereas how Hinduism is lived as a way of in the villages, it is lived in among the common men. They go by very simple rituals. They go by the stories. They go by the tradition. What is told in Veda, what is told in Shruti, what is told in Shrutis, it doesn't affect them at all. It has never affected them. So Hinduism is all about that. So I took my literature from there. I took it from the grassroots. So that way, so it was not shocking to me, even though I grew up in a typical Brahminical tradition. So initially when I confronted this, it was shocking. Then later it became fascinating. And I was enthralled by it, and from there I took up writing. Because I thought that these also should be in the written form.
Right.
This also for the eternity, they should know, okay, these versions are also there.
Right. So, how would you compare women in positions of power in Hindu mythology with respect to position of women in India? Indian society today. Could you draw a comparison citing powerful female mythological characters like you talked about Gandhari or Draupadi or for Kunti for that matter? So
women always, if you take the epic age, women always were very powerful. Very powerful in the sense the powerful women were powerful. Not all women were powerful. In the sense the elite women were powerful. Especially in the royal families and other things. Where this thing is where they held the power. Whereas common women had the same problem. Like if you see Ahalya is not powerful, she's a hermit's wife. Whereas Draupadi is powerful. So you cannot paint everyone with the same brush. The women or the Nishada woman and her five children who got trapped in them, they were definitely not powerful. Just like how common wandering woman will be, destitute woman will be now, she will not be powerful. No? Whereas somebody belonging to the political family will be powerful. It is the same way. Nothing has changed much, only time has passed on. So you cannot say in Puranic age every woman was powerful. There have been instances of powerful women like Draupadi, Kunti, Gandhari, and Satyavati, and a lot of them. Even Sita, Mandodari, Tara. So these were in the royal family. Whereas the people in the hermitage, people in the ordinary these women were not powerful at all. So it remains the same. The more things change, the more they remain the same. It depends on their social class, just like how it is now. No? Also, who are the powerful? Many women will be powerful than many ordinary men. Say somebody belongs to a big business family, or somebody belongs to someone is a daughter, wife, or herself a career politician. They will be powerful. Now, for example, Sonia Gandhi or Mamata Banerjee will be powerful than any ordinary man on the street. So it is not the gender which decides; it is the class which is deciding.
Right.
The social class which is deciding. It was like that at that time. It was like that at this time also. It will be like the same in the future also.
Okay, so with that question, I would like to conclude the interview.